I don't know if you've read it, but his nickname was Mallard. And he looked like a little duck when he was born.
Marie Osmond has been in the spotlight for most of her life. From her days singing with her famous family to becoming a household name on television, she seemed to have it all. But behind the smiles and songs was a woman carrying struggles the world never saw. Heartbreak, hidden battles, and tragedies shaped her journey in ways fans could never imagine. And now, at 65, her life looks nothing like the glamorous past we once knew. Join us as we take a closer look at her life then and now. Marie Osmond's childhood and first steps into fame. Olive Marie Osmond was born on October 13, 1959, in Ogden, Utah. She was the eighth of 9 children and the only daughter in the large Osmond family. Her parents, Olive May and George Verl Osmond, raised their children as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 2 of her brothers, Verl and Tom, were born deaf, but the rest of her brothers began performing early on as a barbershop quartet. Their talents soon caught attention and led them to appear on the Andy Williams Show in the 1960s. That success was the reason the whole family moved to Los Angeles, where music and television would soon dominate their lives. Marie herself was only 4 years old when she made her first televised appearance on the Andy Williams Show in 1964. While most little girls spent their childhood with toys and school lessons, Marie's life was tied closely to show business. She was often at home with her mother and younger brothers Verl, Tom, Donny, and Jimmy. Out of all her siblings, she felt closest to Donny. In her own words, Marie once shared, "Donny and I were rambunctious playmates who never gave our mother a moment to rest." Those childhood days weren't just about playing, though. Music was always part of their lives, whether it was singing together, practicing instruments, or writing songs. Marie remembered it well years later, saying, "I never knew a day of my childhood life where music wasn't being played, practiced, written, or sung." Childhood should have been a time of carefree fun, but Marie's path was much different. Her life was shaped by the pressure of performing. She was pushed into the spotlight even before kindergarten, when most children only worried about schoolwork or friends. That early fame shaped her in ways both good and painful. A childhood of work and pressure. At just 3 years old, Marie had her first performance alongside Andy Williams himself. She sang and danced with him on stage, and while most children would be nervous, Marie had little choice. It was the beginning of a career that would never slow down. After Andy Williams passed away in 2012, Marie looked back on that moment and called him a guiding light in her life. She praised him not only for helping her develop her singing ability, but also for giving her some of her fondest childhood memories. But behind the bright lights, life was not as glamorous as it seemed. In her memoir, Might As Well Laugh About It Now, Marie admitted that her parents made sure all the Osmond children had the best teachers and choreographers money could buy. Each sibling was required to learn an instrument and then teach it to the others. Marie was assigned the marimba. She didn't want to play it, but that didn't matter. Her path was chosen for her. Looking back, Marie described the pain of growing up in such a demanding world. And while her brothers performed as the Osmonds and gained fame, Marie was left to juggle the pressure of finding her own place in music. What came next would change her life forever. Teenage stardom and country music breakthrough. By 1970, Marie's brothers had already formed the Osmonds and were enjoying hit after hit. The family saw the success and believed Marie could have a solo career too. But instead of following her brothers into pop, Marie decided to market herself as a country artist. She explained that country music was the only genre at the time that allowed women to balance a career and family. Even as a preteen, she recorded a demo singing Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors. Don Ovens of MGM Records heard the tape and was so impressed that he signed her to the label's Nashville division. Marie was only 14 years old when her life completely changed. In 1973, she released her cover of Paper Roses, and the song shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. This made her the youngest female artist to ever achieve a #1 country single. More hits followed, with singles like Meet Me in Montana, There's No Stopping Your Heart, and You're Still New to Me, all reaching the top of the charts. Alongside her solo career, Marie teamed up with Donny to create the variety show Donny and Marie. The show became a major success and aired through 1979, turning the duo into household names. Yet behind the laughter, dance routines, and duets, Marie still carried the same pressures that had weighed on her since childhood. Fame had given her everything, but it also demanded everything in return. And as the 1980s arrived, her career and personal life faced new challenges. Reinvention struggles and later career. In the early 1980s, the Osmond family faced financial trouble and lost much of their fortune. To help, Marie performed alongside her siblings, but she also tried to step out on her own. She launched her own variety show called Marie, but it didn't last long. She soon returned to her country roots, signing with Capitol Records in 1985. It paid off. She released the album There's No Stopping Your Heart and scored another round of #1 hits. By the 1990s, Marie had started to expand into other ventures. She created her own line of collectible dolls, which became hugely popular on the QVC network. She also made her Broadway debut in The King and I in 1994. From 1998 to 2000, she reunited with Donny for a network talk show, and she used that time to openly talk about one of her biggest struggles: postpartum depression. Her honesty led to the release of her book, Behind the Smile: My Journey Out of Postpartum Depression, where she shared her pain and her journey toward healing. Later years saw Marie take on more projects, from her radio series Marie and Friends in 2004 to appearing on Dancing with the Stars in 2007. In 2008, she and Donny reunited once more, this time for a residency at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. Their act ran for more than a decade, until 2019, proving that fans still loved the sibling duo. Marie never stopped reinventing herself. She returned with solo albums like I Can Do This in 2010, Music is Medicine in 2016, and Unexpected in 2021. She even co-hosted The Talk between 2019 and 2020 and appeared in several Lifetime films, including the Christmas edition in 2020. From a little girl who sang on stage with Andy Williams to a country star, Broadway actress, doll designer, and TV host, Marie Osmond's journey has been long, difficult, and inspiring. Speaking of which, behind the smile, she was carrying a heavy secret: the secret struggle with eating disorders. During the height of the Donny and Marie show in the 1970s, she faced intense pressure about her weight. In an interview with Page Six, she recalled one moment that changed everything. She said she was pulled aside by a studio head who told her, "You're an embarrassment to your family. You're fat. 250 people were going to lose their jobs because you can't keep food out of your fat face." Words like that can break anyone, and for a teenage girl, it was crushing. In her book, Might As Well Laugh About It Now, Marie explained how this moment pushed her into unhealthy habits. She admitted that she would lie about eating breakfast and dinner, and for 4 days a week, she survived only on water mixed with lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup. She confessed, "I still didn't feel I was thin enough, even when I became too weak from hunger to do the dance numbers in the show." Her struggles didn't stop once the show ended. Body image continued to follow her into adulthood. The death of singer Karen Carpenter in 1983 opened the world's eyes to eating disorders. But for Marie, it was also a personal turning point. She realized that the way she treated herself was having an impact on her fans. Women wrote to her, asking how they could look like her after pregnancy. That was when she admitted to herself that she needed to change. As she wrote later, "It changed my mind forever about body image." But eating disorders weren't the only battle she faced in those years. Another wound came from the constant comparison to other stars, living with insecurities in the spotlight. The Donny and Marie show was a major success, filled with music, comedy, and guest appearances from some of the biggest stars of the time. From the outside, it looked like a dream job, but for Marie, it often felt like a nightmare. She was just 16 when the show began, and she later confessed in her memoir, Might As Well Laugh About It, now that being surrounded by glamorous actresses and singers made her feel small. Meeting Cher was one of those moments that left a deep mark. When she and Donny guest starred on the Sonny and Cher show, she remembered how it shook her confidence. She admitted, "I felt like the ugly duckling. Cher always made a splash, no matter what she did. I thought I was going to drown in my awkwardness." It didn't stop there. On her own stage, Marie stood next to stars like Jacqueline Smith, Cheryl Ladd, and Farrah Fawcett, who had just become famous for her red bathing suit poster. She also shared the stage with Raquel Welch, a woman known worldwide for her beauty. For a teenager, it was overwhelming. Marie explained, "Standing on stage next to Raquel Welch and comparing my appearance to hers was enough to send me into a hating myself tailspin. It was pretty hard to leave my dressing room feeling like anything other than a poser playing dress-up. While the audience saw a confident star, inside she struggled with self-doubt every time she stepped on stage. These insecurities would have been enough to break many child stars, but Marie's challenges went even deeper, into dangerous conditions and experiences that no child should have faced. The harsh reality of being a child star. Marie started working when she was only 3 years old. That meant she grew up in an industry where children were often treated with little care. In her memoir, Behind the Smile, she admitted, "In some situations, I was treated more as a product than a person." One story she shared was particularly shocking. At just 11 years old, she was flown to Japan to shoot a commercial. The filming took place at sea, and the unthinkable happened. The boat capsized. Marie suddenly found herself swimming in the ocean, surrounded by sharks. Thankfully, she was rescued, but the nightmare didn't end there. Instead of being sent home, she was forced back on set to keep filming. By the end of the week, she was dehydrated, blistered from sunburn, and exhausted. This was just one example of how little protection child performers had at the time. She also described being bullied in recording studios, pressured to sing or perform without question, her opinions ignored. As she put it, "Over time, I grew to believe and accept that my input was the least important of all those involved in almost every project." To make matters worse, financial planners hired by her parents mismanaged their money so badly that by the end of the 1970s, the family was near bankruptcy. This happened while the Donny and Marie show was still on air, and Marie herself was working 80-hour weeks as a teenager. When the show was canceled, she was just stepping into adulthood, but her life was already shaped by years of hard labor, pressure, and scars that would take decades to heal. And those scars went even deeper, as Marie bravely revealed years later, painful secrets and near-death experiences. In her book Behind the Smile, Marie wrote words that shocked her fans. Mistreatment can come in many forms. For her, the most damaging was the physical abuse she suffered as a child. She never gave details about who was responsible, only clarifying that it was not her family. She explained that each time her abuser was someone her parents believed was safe. She was threatened not to tell or her family would lose everything. For years, she kept it hidden, even from her brothers. It was only after having children of her own that she revealed the truth. The effects of abuse followed her into adulthood. She wrote, "The debilitating effect abuse has on the human spirit and the ability to function on a day-to-day basis." Even decades later, she admitted that she still struggled to understand that being wronged doesn't mean you've done something wrong. The pain of those memories never fully left her, but her battles were not only emotional. At just 16 years old, she faced a terrifying car accident. She was driving when she suddenly passed out. The crash was severe. Marie hit the steering wheel so hard that she bent it and nearly lost her eye. Her mother, who was with her, hit the windshield and suffered collapsed lungs. Both were rushed to the hospital, and Marie was told her mother might not survive the night. Lying in the hospital, Marie said she felt overwhelming guilt. "You feel like you've taken your mom's life," she confessed years later on The Talk. But something strange happened that gave her comfort. She said she had a vision of her grandfather. She asked him if he had come to take her mother away. His answer was simple, no. He reassured her that her mother was not leaving. Marie described it as a game changer for me on so many levels. Her mother survived, and for Marie, the experience became proof that peace after death was real. From abuse to accidents, from fame to fear, Marie Osmond's life was never simple, but each story shows not only her struggles, but also the strength she carried forward into her later years. Love, marriage, and family. Marie Osmond's personal life has been filled with love, heartbreak, and second chances. In May 1979, she was briefly engaged to acting student Jeff Creighton, but the engagement lasted only 2 months. Around the same time, she dated singer Andy Gibb, and later in 1981, she briefly dated John Schneider. In 1982, she married her first husband, Stephen Lyle Craig, a basketball player at Brigham Young University. Their son, Stephen James Craig, was born in 1983, but the marriage didn't last. By 1985, the couple divorced. Marie later wrote, "Steve and I had made several attempts to go back and make our very young marriage work, but it failed. I was being scrutinized in the tabloids and the paparazzi seemed to show up wherever I went. I was emotionally exhausted." In 1986, Marie married record producer Brian Blossel. She was drawn to his dry sense of humor after meeting him at a family party. Together, they had 7 children, 2 biological, Rachel and Matthew, and 5 adopted, Jessica, Michael, Brandon, Brianna, and Abigail. But after 21 years, the marriage ended in 2007. They released a joint statement saying no one was at fault, but the truth was deeper. Marie later admitted that it was better for her children to see parents separate than grow up in a home where 2 people were deeply unhappy. After her divorce, Marie told the world she never wanted to marry again, but love found her in an unexpected way. Her son arranged a meeting with her first husband, Steve Craig. They rekindled their relationship, dated secretly for 2 years, and finally remarried in 2011. At the Las Vegas Mormon Temple, Marie walked down the aisle wearing her dress from their original wedding in 1982. Later, she told People magazine, "The thing about a second marriage is that you realize things you thought were so important aren't. I love being with my husband. He is the sweetest man I know. He lives to serve and really listens to people's needs." But even as she found happiness again in love, tragedy struck her family in a way no mother ever wants to face: heartbreak and the loss of a son. In 2010, Marie Osmond's son Michael, just 18 years old, died by suicide. The news shocked her fans and left her family devastated. Over time, Marie opened up about what had happened. On the talk, she revealed, "He was bullied heavily right up until the time that he committed suicide because of his sobriety. I've got the texts. They're horrendous." She admitted she never confronted the bullies but wished there were consequences for their cruelty. But the heartbreak didn't end there. Just a week after his funeral, Marie made the choice to return to work. Many people attacked her for it, shaming her for not taking more time away. She explained that she did it for her other children. She wanted to show them that even in the darkest times, life had to go on. Years later, she still carried the weight of his loss. On CBS Sunday Morning, 9 years after Michael's death, she confessed, "You know, I don't think you're ever through it. I think God gives you respites, and then all of a sudden it'll hit you like the day it did. The ripple effect is so huge, what you leave behind." Those words showed how grief never really disappears. It changes shape, but it never leaves. Marie's life was already filled with struggles, but she was about to face another battle, one that affected not only her but also her children. Battling postpartum depression. In 2001, Marie Osmond released her book, Behind the Smile, where she spoke about a pain that was rarely discussed at the time: postpartum depression. In the book, she described feelings of failure and emptiness after giving birth. She explained how her children would check her mood before even speaking to her because her sadness had become part of daily life. She shared how one neighbor welcomed her with baked goods, and she responded by saying she just wanted to be left alone. The depression was overwhelming. At one point, she handed her baby to her nanny along with blank checks and said she needed to leave. She got in her car and drove up the Pacific Coast Highway, later writing, "There is no light, no joy, anywhere in me. I'm completely alone." She even admitted that she understood why someone would take their own life because the only emotions she felt were negative ones. Looking back in a 2023 interview, she explained that her choice to write the book was about breaking the silence for women everywhere. But even as she spoke about her depression, she also faced criticism for the way she loved and supported her own daughter. Love, acceptance, and cruel reactions. In 2013, Marie Osmond sat down with Diane Sawyer. During the interview, she spoke about her daughter Jessica, who had come out as gay. For Marie, there was never a question of love. She said it broke her heart, not because of who her daughter was, but because she knew how cruel the world could be. Marie has always been outspoken about marriage equality. She told Sawyer, "My daughter deserves everything she desires in life. She's a good girl, she's a wonderful child. I don't think God made one color flower, I think He made many." On the talk, she also described the cruelty she faced after attending her daughter's wedding. Her message was simple: you should never shame anyone, especially for loving your child. Unfortunately, not everyone in her own family agreed. Her brother Alan Osmond condemned being gay as a choice and even hosted an event in Utah called Celebration of Marriage. Every child deserves a mom and a dad. Despite the backlash, Marie stood firm. She reminded the world that love should never be conditional. She believed that her daughter and every child deserved happiness. But her own family's rejection showed how difficult it can be to live by that belief. And still, through heartbreak, depression, and tragedy, Marie Osmond continued to stand as a mother who put love above everything else. But did you know that Marie Osmond has faced more tragedy than most people could ever imagine? A family marked by loss. In 2004, she and her siblings lost their beloved mother, Olive. She had suffered a stroke 2 years earlier, and complications finally took her life. Just 3 years later, in 2007, their father George also passed away at the age of 90. These losses were difficult, but sadly, they were not the end of heartbreak for the Osmond family. In 2014, tragedy struck Marie's brother Jay's family. His 7-year-old granddaughter was killed in a horrific accident when she was crushed by the door of a moving truck. The family was devastated, and the pain only grew in 2022, when the little girl's father, Chris Mortensen, was shot and killed in a road rage incident. The accused was arrested, but the loss left another scar on the family. In 2018, more grief came when Marie's 33-year-old nephew suddenly died, most likely from an undiagnosed medical condition. Speaking at the funeral, Marie's words showed her deep understanding of grief. She said, "I know that feeling of utter despair, praying to wake up from a horrible nightmare and not being able to breathe. I remember that seemingly impossible task to continue on." These painful experiences would have been enough to break anyone, but Marie's heart was tested again with the loss of someone who had been by her side her whole life, her brother Wayne. Saying goodbye to Wayne Osmond. On January 1st, 2025, Wayne Osmond passed away after suffering a massive stroke. For Marie, the pain was almost too much to put into words. She shared her feelings on Instagram, explaining that she had been taking a break from social media but felt she had to honor him. She recalled that just a few weeks before his death, she had felt a strong need to visit him. "I really felt the spirit compel me to go see him, and I'm so thankful I listened to what I was feeling. I will cherish those hours I spent with him for the rest of my life. I didn't know that just a few days after my visit, he would have a massive stroke." Marie admitted that since Wayne's death, she hadn't been able to do interviews or speak much publicly, saying, "The truth is, it's just too hard to put into words." She called him one of the most loving men she had ever known, and said his passing left another giant hole in my heart. Marie remembered Wayne not only as a talented performer, but as her brother, her safe place, the one she went to for advice and long conversations. She praised his love for his wife, Kathy, and his devotion to his children and grandchildren. She ended her tribute with moving words. "Wayne, I could not cherish the gift God gave me more than to be loved by you in this life. You are a true loving brother, and I will miss you so very much. I testify eternally of my great love for you with every fiber of my heart and soul." The Osmond family stood together in grief, remembering Wayne's legacy. A new season of life. In April 2025, Marie returned to social media with a heartfelt post. She admitted she had stepped away for a while to spend time with her family and follow what she felt was God's guidance. "My family has always been my first priority," she wrote, "and this season has provided some wonderful and unique experiences with them." She explained how stepping back from the spotlight had given her what she called the most normal life she had ever lived. Having performed since she was 3 years old, Marie laughed that she had never truly known what normal was. Yet she embraced the joy of being present with her children and grandchildren. One story she shared showed how much this meant to her. When her daughter called in a panic, asking if she could pick up her granddaughter from school, Marie said yes, without hesitation. Her daughter's reply touched her deeply. "Mom, it's so nice to have you here and available. Thank you so much for helping me out today. It means the world to me." Marie said those words meant more than any award or accolade she had ever received. Her post was filled with gratitude and faith. She reminded her followers that life is about choices, about love, and about service. She wrote that challenges can make us better people if we let them. teaching humility, compassion, and strength. By striving to hear him, we grow daily in faith and see how God's unconditional love creates daily miracles for us, she shared. She also spoke about her continued work with the Children's Miracle Network, which she co-founded. She celebrated its 42nd anniversary and paid tribute to her dear friend Joe Lake, one of the co-founders, who had recently passed away. He was a man full of love and compassion for others and had a heart totally dedicated to service, she wrote. Through her message, she reminded everyone that service and love are the greatest gifts in life. She closed by thanking her fans, calling them family, and reminding them how much she loved them. In her words, "Honestly, you have blessed me so much more than I could ever have done for you. Your family, never ever forget that and how much I love you." Which part of Marie Osmond's life story surprised you the most? Her struggles, her family tragedies, or how she lives today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.